TCM podcast, all about Chinese medicine. Welcome to a new episode of the TCM podcast. Today we're going to talk about the Jing, the Book of Changes. The ancient culture of China has made great contribution to world culture. Book of Changes is one of the most precious contributions of Chinese culture, which has exerted a great influence on Chinese philosophy, literature, historical study, as well as its natural and social sciences. The Book of Changes is the very basis of Chinese culture, the principal source of Chinese philosophy, social sciences, and the natural sciences. It has greatly influenced the history of Chinese civilization. Its importance lies not only in what is covered in the Book of Changes and commentaries on the changes, which are the two component parts of the book, but also in some 3,000 related works on philosophy, which means philosophy of the changes. Many ancient schools of thought that derive from this philosophy, and the comprehensive system of science is nurtured. All this makes the Book of Changes an inexhaustible, and unlimited treasury of human knowledge. The Book of Changes is a pivotal link between the past and the future. It has organically combined ancient and modern Chinese civilization, joined the lifelines of Chinese culture, and vigorously promoted its development. The Book of Changes, or its essence, has two major connotations: philosophy and xiangshu, divination. Xiangshu is the basis of philosophy. It is the charm and attraction of xiangshu has made philosophy more popular than any other system of philosophy. The Book of Changes adopted the essence of the principles of yin and yang and waxing, which are the five elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, pre-Qing period. And the Emperor's Canon of Medicine also took them as its basic series. It shows the particular kinship between these two monumental works. The Book of Changes can be regarded as the source of the Emperor's Canon of Medicine, later absorbed the essence of the changes, creatively developed many of his series, and even improved on some of them. It has made the canon a great medical classic, as brilliant as the changes. By fully incorporating the series of the changes and creatively integrating them with medical science, the canon has made TCM a branch of the natural sciences with a very high philosophical value and has strongly promoted its development. Thus, it is obvious that TCM science and e-science developed from the same origin, and the basic series of the former stemmed from those of the later. As the ancient doctor Sun Sumyao once said, "You cannot master medicine until you have studied the Book of Changes." It is hardly exaggerating to say that no doctor in Chinese medical history has ever studied the Emperor's Canon of Medicine consulting the Book of Changes. But to make it a deeper study of the Emperor's Canon of Medicine, there is need to have a thorough understanding of the Book of Changes so that its origin can be traced, its essence inherited, and the study of TCM further developed. A warning in medicine concluded that guidance medicine is implied everywhere in the Book of Changes, which reflects the close relationship between medicine and the Book of Changes, as well as the great influence on the book on TCM. The Book of Changes is divided into two parts in fact: Yi Jing, which is actually the original text, and Yi Zhuan, which are the commentaries. The former is the original work that came into being at the end of the Western Zhou dynasty, a book on natural sciences in ancient times. It is a summary of researches in fields of natural and social science, history and philosophy, and the masterpiece incorporating the natural sciences and philosophy. Since it is concerned with many realms of human knowledge, such as astronomy, geography, music, and the art of war. Changes is wide-ranging, yet it was intended as an investigation of the mysteries of the universe by numbers, series, and symbols. Scholars believe that the Book of Changes is a joint work of Fuxi, Guan, Zhou Gong, and Confucius, with Fuxi drawing the 8 trigrams, Guan inventing the judgments to the hexagrams, Zhou Gong writing the text pertaining to individual lines, and Confucius composing the commentaries. Three schools of Chinese thought, Confucianism, Taoism, and Mohism, as well as the other schools, are all based on the Book of Changes. Jing and Yizhuan comprise the Book of Changes, a theory which is called a theory of changes. It is no doubt a magnificent classical incorporating philosophy, science, and culture. What is more valuable is the mass of philosophy related to medicine implied in it. Therefore, medicine is said to have the same origin as the Book of Changes. The basic series of the Emperor's canon of medicine, such as Yin and Yang, Zhang Xiang, which means the outside imaging representation of the organs, and Qihua, which means the production, circulation, and action of the vital energy, are all derived from the Book of Changes. In addition, the Book of Changes provides a rich source of medical data, including records of 14 diseases, medical errors, and many terms of physiological dissection, sterility, and psychological treatments. Thus, the study of the Emperor's canon of medicine cannot be accomplished without tracing its original source. The Book of Changes, the Emperor's canon of medicine, and Yizhuan were written all about the same period, with the later during the time from the spring and autumn period till the Warring State period, and the former from the Warring States period to the Han Dynasty. As a result, the Emperor's canon of medicine traces the great influence of the Book of Changes, with its philosophy added in the Emperor's canon of medicine. Since the Emperor's canon of medicine absorbed the essence of the Book of Changes as well as expanded many of its series, has become a masterpiece in medicine, summarizing the results of the medical research before the Han Dynasty. Many of the theories borrowed by the Emperor's canon of medicine were further improved by it, making it not only a medical classic but also a scientific work, anthropology, philosophy, and logic, as brilliant as the Book of Changes. In terms of philosophy, the Book of Changes is the ancestor of Confucian thought. Confucianism originated from the Book of Changes, with the former taking the Book of Changes as the standard of morality. Consequently, there have been no Confucian scholars who have not devoted their studies to the Book of Changes. The Commentaries is said to have been written by Confucius, the classic of Taoism. Lao Tzu finds its source in Book of the Changes. Lao Tzu is actually an explanation of the Book of Changes. The famous saying from the Lao Tzu is Tao leads to one leads to two, leads to three, and three creates everything. In fact, derived from the birth and the birth are called changes. All of Lao Tzu's works was based on the Book of Changes. Confucius followed the Book of Changes doctrine on being positive, while Taoism followed that of negative, thus giving rise to the different doctrines of the schools. The views of Mohism were also based on the Book of Changes, with the main idea: changes from rise to decline are the natural law of development. This is in correspondence with the doctrine of changes taught by the Book of Changes. These make it clear that the three schools of thought in Chinese culture all originated from the Book of Changes, and that the Book of Changes has no rival in the range it covers and the influence it has and had on Chinese culture. The commentaries were compiled between the spring and autumn period and the Warring States period, while the Emperor's canon of medicine was written between the Warring States period and the Han Dynasty. As the two books were basically contemporary, the Emperor's canon of medicine fully adopted the essence of the Book of Changes, including the theory of yin and yang and the five elements, which came into being during the Warring States period, and combined these creatively with medicine during TCM and independent branch of natural sciences with a high level of theoretical reasoning. Great contributions made to the health of the Chinese people, the Emperor's canon of medicine has proved to be a great work of TCM, and with the Book of Changes, they each other influenced a lot, with the former influenced by the later as well as spurring further development. There were said to be three versions of the Book of Changes in ancient time. The first was Zhou version of the Book of Changes still in current use. It was invented by Fu Xi. The text contains 64 hexagrams, with Tianhua as the first. The second was Liang Shanyi. It was compiled by Shangong. That version was adopted by the Xia dynasty. It is no longer extant. The third was Gui Zhangyi, the version by Huangdi. The first triagram, which was Honghua, the political system of the Shang dynasty, was in it, no longer extant. In short, The nature of the Book of Changes should be viewed in this way. In form, it is a book on divination. In content, it is a record of the social and productive activities, as well as of the scientific research in the Shang and Zhou dynasties, with a kernel of early Chinese culture within it. Therefore, it is the ancestor of early Chinese scientific thought, philosophical views, and the culture. The Jing, the Book of Changes, or the Century, Jing, the Book of Changes, or the Centuries, in use as a philosophical treatise of the universe, guide toward ethical lifestyle, an advisory for ruling, as an oracle for one's personal life and spiritual future. The Book of Changes is one of the most important ancient books ever written, and of the greatest treasures of wisdom. Confucius said that by following the advices of the book, and studying it constantly, we can attain creative awareness in every situation. The Book of Changes is a philosophical system, a method, and the oldest written form of known divination in the world, which contains many historical events that are for the most part hidden among the hexagrams and lines. The Book of Changes serves as a foundation for many Eastern philosophies, Western mathematics. The Book of Changes was first introduced to the Western world by a missionary in late Ming Dynasty and explained by mathematicians in binary codes. The first European commentary was written in the late 15th century. In the 1950s and 1960s, the Jing held a special place as a divinatory guidance book for living a better life. It is by far the most referred book in China and East Asia. German sinologist Richard Wilhelm's translation of the I Ching serves as a foundation to most Westerners interested in learning about the ancient work. Carl Jung, psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, expressed interest in I Ching and its divinatory aspect. Carl Jung used the oracle, in particular I Ching book, with his patients during therapy sessions. Dr. Carl Jung believed that the ancient Chinese, much interested with the chances of natural events to occur, and I Ching's main concern is relevance to the effect of coincidence. Jung explains that the ancient Chinese mind contemplates the cosmos in a way comparable to that of the modern physicist, who cannot deny that his model of the world is a decidedly psychophysical structure. A microphysical event includes the observer as much as the reality underlying the I Ching comprise subjective psychic conditions in totality of the momentary situation. During the 17th century, Friedrich Wilhelm Leibniz found a way to brush better arithmetic method over the decimal system. Leibniz invented binary arithmetic by studying the I Ching. The title of his paper was Explanation of the Binary Arithmetic, which uses only the character 1 and 0, with some remarks of its usefulness, and on the light it throws on the ancient Chinese figures of Fu Xi. So what really is I Ching? According to Chinese legend, I Ching originated with a mythical Fu Xi, one of the earliest legendary rulers of China, reputed to have had the 8 trigrams revealed to him supernaturally. Fu Xi was said to have found the 8 trigrams that formed the 64 hexagrams on the shell of a tortoise. The meanings evolved from then on, and the book was used mostly for prediction natural events until King Wen wrote the first expositions on the 64 hexagrams about 3,000 years ago. These were the first comments that included social and political connotations. Each inquiry to the oracle will result in a hexagram reading and possibly additional line readings. A hexagram is made up of 2 trigrams. There are 8 possible trigrams: cosmos, water, mountain, earth, wind, fire, and lake. Each trigram is made up of 3 lines. Each line is either broken or solid, corresponding to the complementary forces. Yin, which is the negative, and Yang is the positive. Every time coin is thrown, one line of the hexagram is determined as 6th throw decide a hexagram. These 8 trigrams were conceived as images of all that happens in heaven and on the earth. At the same time, They were held in a state of continual transition, one changing into another, just as transitions from one phenomenon to another is continually taking place in the physical world. There are 64 different hexagrams, and each hexagram has 6 changing lines, any of which may or may not apply for any particular readings. The hexagrams and lines, the movements and changes mysteriously reproduce the movements and changes of the microcosm. One method for casting the oracle is to use 3 Chinese coins for the throws. Each throw creates one line of the hexagram. One side of the coin represents a 2 and the other a 3. These numbers are added to determine the result of the throw. Changing lines are created if there are any 3 of a kind throws, a total of 6 or 9. Secondary readings can be thought of as changing from the primary reading, and is only created if there are changing lines in the primary reading. To use the I Jing, a person uses either coin tosses or yarrow stalks to generate a hexagram and receive their divination statement. By the use of yarrow stalks, one could attain a point of vantage from which it was possible to survey the condition of the things. Given this perspective, the words of the oracle would indicate what should be done to meet the need of the time. This very procedure is regarded as mysterious, however, simply in the sense that the manipulation of the yarrow stalks makes it possible for the unconscious in man to become active. All individuals are not equally fitted to consult the oracle. It requires a clear and tranquil mind, receptive to the cosmic influences hidden in the humble divining stalks. As products of the vegetable kingdom, these were considered to be related to the sources of life. The stalks were derived from sacred plants. How to use a book. In antiquity, oracles were everywhere in the use. The oldest among them confined themselves to the answers yes and no. Type of oracular pronouncement lies the basis of the Book of Changes. Yes was indicated by a simple unbroken line, no by a broken line. However, the need for the greater differentiation seems to have been felt at an early date, and the single lines were combined in pairs. To each of these combinations, a third line was then added, and these 8 trigrams were conceived as images of all representative of heaven and earth. 8 trigrams are symbols standing for changing transitional states. They represented a family consisting of father, mother, 3 sons, and 3 daughters symbolically. Sons represent the principle of movement in its various stages. The daughters represent devotion in its various stages, gentle penetrations, clarity and adaptability, joyous tranquility, in order to achieve a still greater multiplicity. These 8 images were combined with one another at a very early date, whereby a total of 64 signs were obtained. Each of these 64 signs consists of 6 lines, either positive or negative. Each line is thought as capable of change, and whenever a line changes, there is a change also of situation represented by the given hexagram. Positive lines that move are designed by the number 9, negative lines that move by the number 6, while non-moving lines, which serves only as a structural matter in the hexagram, without intrinsic meaning of their own, are represented by the number 7, which is the positive, or the number 8, which is the negative. Thus, when the text reads 9 at the beginning means this is the equivalent of saying a positive line is the first place, is represented by the number 9, has the following meaning. If, on the other hand, it is represented by the number 7, it is disregarded in interpreting the oracle. The same principle holds for lines represented by the number 6 and 8 respectively. In addition to the law of change and to the images of the states of change as given in the 64 hexagrams, another factor to be considered is the course of action. Each situation demands the action appropriate to it. In every situation there is a right and a wrong course of action. Obviously, the right course brings fortune and the wrong course brings misfortune. Which then is the right course in any given case? This question was the decisive factor. As a result, the I Jing was lifted above the level of an ordinary book of soothsaying. The third element, fundamental to the Book of Changes, are the judgments. The judgments clothes the images in words. They indicate whether a given action will bring good fortune or misfortune, or sort of humiliation. The judgments make it possible for man to make a decision to desist from a course of action, aided by the situation of the moment, but harmful in the long run. This way, He makes himself independent of the tyranny of events, judgments, and in the interpretations. To do it in the time of Confucius, Book of the Changes opens to the reader the richest treasure of the Chinese wisdom. At the same time, it affords him a comprehensive view of the varieties of human experience, enable him thereby to shape his life sovereign will into an organic whole, and as a result, the book changes nowadays represent the heritage of the humankind. This will be final words, and thank you one more time for listening to the TM podcast. And next time, love and light. TCM podcast, all about Chinese medicine.